Remember, remember to stay calm. That's where the recording will begin at. Okay, so we've just finished a guided meditation, which is available in the palette, and everybody has shared a word of the day, and the word of the day was quite quite a few polar opposite words, which was great. And there's the Padlet that Paula is showing us all. So now is a good time actually while I speak, because as I said, we're going to discuss unconscious bias. Some of us may know this, some of us may not know this phrase at all. We're also going to look at privilege. Hope that's two very big topics to go through today. And one of the things that I always want all of us to kind of feed into when we're doing this kind of work, and this is something you can bring into any other work that you do while you're on placement as well. You're discussing something, right? What are we going to do today with the young people, or what are we going to do with the girls in the hostel? Like what activity we're going to do, and how will that, what are the values or what are the ideas that will keep us guided and keep us on our, what are the words that will keep us work like a North Star, if I may say so. So use the Menti and think about values and words. Any word can be a value, any emotion can be a value. Yes, sunshine can be a value because it came from the previous question. We can't delete that, but let's leave it there just for the fact that it's sunshine. And yeah, fair is a value for sure. Can someone please type for me honesty as a value in our manifesto? Someone could type honesty for me. Is there any more words that are coming in? We're going to be looking at how stereotypes work and how that impacts us and how it impacts other people. And we're going to reflect about how much privilege do each of us have, does each of you have? Do I even have privilege? Do I still believe I have privilege? And those conversations require honesty, courage, and also those are uncomfortable feelings, I suppose, for many people. But based off things that Lindsay would have spoken to you on the training day, going through the Docus code and talk, how to speak about our partners and the people we meet through the volunteer placements, and how ethical images should be and how we write about people. All of this stuff matters. But again, stay calm. Stay calm. That's why you've got you've got your team at HQ in Cork to guide you through things, and you'll have your leaders to help you stay on track as well. Okay, so good morals, honesty, courage, compassion, community, peace, togetherness, justice, fair. Okay, awesome. I am going to ask one of you to also write the word at the opening part. The word listening, active listening, please, Paula. Okay, cool, awesome. So
I've
we've
used up all my words. Does anyone else
oh
have words that they
oh that
spirit words that they can?
I'll do it. So where is it? But I'll type it. I just feel like I'm cheating if I type into it. Enter a word. Okay. Oh, Okay, is that cool? Now, we're going to get an opportunity to come back to this manifesto and add more, hopefully, as on a separate slide or something, whichever way Menti allows us to do it technically. Is that okay? Cool. Okay. So there we go. Now, so we've done this part. Now, does everybody have pen and paper or their served journal? Pen, paper, crayon, paper, felt pen, marker, paper, whatever. Okay, great, awesome. Now, this is a personal exercise, but it would be good once you have a few sentences, you could shout them out if you feel like speaking, or if you wish, you can just type it out, whichever you feel. You can even just hold it up against the camera so that we can read it. Okay, you've got 3 options. Pick whichever to do. Okay, I want to say hi to Maura because now I recognize her face finally. Hi, Maura. Hi. Okay, so I am, but I'm not. Okay, gotta fill in the blanks. I'll do one, shall I? I swear to you, I didn't think of one beforehand. So give me a moment. Yes, I am. I am 42, but I'm not. But I'm not a grumpy auntie. I'm not. How about that? Okay, so I am 42, but I am not a grumpy old lady. I won't say old because others who read this would be like, 42 is not old. But according to my son, I'm very old. I'm 42, but I'm not a grumpy lady. Okay, I'll be quiet for a few moments for you all to come up with 1 or 2 for yourselves. Remember the manifesto, show courage and be honest. Love it. Yes, indeed. Alma's laughing at my one. That one hit a nerve, did it, Alma? The amount of times I have been asked, "Oh, are you a nurse? Do you work at CUH?" Not only have they decided what is my profession, but they have decided where I work as well. I have to work at CUH, not maybe at some private awesome place. It has to be CUH. Yeah, like I can't be a nurse to a very rich millionaire person. They want me to be at CUH. Like, what is that? Okay, any more? I am Anne in Irish. Excuse my grammar, sorry. Go on. Okay, show what you've written if you're feeling too lazy to type it out after writing. Anyone? I'm hopeful, but I'm not at peace with what. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Alma. I'm Irish, but I'm not a drinker. I love that, Alice. That is John. That's our John. Everybody presumes John drinks because he's married to me, but he doesn't. But I'm not organized. Yeah, that's most of us. I'm short, but I reach high. Yes. I'm confident, but I'm not loud. Yep. Yeah, not every confident person uh, has to be loud, and not every quiet person is not confident. Is there anybody who hasn't shared one yet? Oh, yeah, Tess. But you might be. You might be an expert, Tess. Ooh, Mara, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Okay, I am waiting for Abby and Sarah as well, I think. Sarah shared one yet?
I
Gotta
said the
make.
short one.
Yes. Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm not the best, but I'm trying my best. Okay. Okay. Right. So let's go with that one. I am Irish, but I'm not fluent in speaking Irish. I am Irish, but I do not drink. I am an Indian Irish person, but I am not a nurse, right? Um, I am from Lahinch, but I'm not a surfer. So you see what this exercise helps us. Actually, no, you tell me. What does this exercise help you with? Anyone?
To see some kind of stereotypes, kind of in a way. You know, the first thing everybody says to me when I say I'm from Lahinch, oh, do you surf?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's about stereotypes. Yeah. And what about stereotypes? Why is it important at this point to talk about stereotypes? Anyone?
To have honest conversations
Mm-hmm.
because you will have a first-hand impression whether you want to or not, like your mind will just make one, but it's important to analyze a bit further.
Yeah. To analyze more, to understand an issue or a certain type of narrative. It's important to understand where stereotypes are at play so you can pause and understand better. Anything else when it comes to stereotypes? To self-reflect on our own biases. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
I suppose to question our own assumptions
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and why you think that. Like,
Yeah. So to reflect on our own biases, to understand issues better, to question our assumptions and why we have these assumptions. So this is what this particular exercise helps us. So when we don't like being put in a box of any kind, why is it that our mind constantly enables us to put things and people in a box? Yeah, but you know what is the thing? Yes, breaking down cultural stereotypes as well. Yeah. But you know, our brain is designed that way as well. We do that to actually protect ourselves from danger. That's why we've got it, right? However, in 2025, we're not running from elephants or tigers or panthers or other those kind of dangerous threats. What we're dealing with is, of course, when we're in a war-inflicted zone, that's different, but we actually don't have imminent danger when we get out of our house. That's privilege as well, by the way. The fact that we live where we live is privilege. So we don't live in a cave where it's cold and it's wet, or well, right now we live in houses that are very warm, which is kind of short-lived, but you know what I mean? There is not really those intense, grave dangers that we have to experience. And so it's okay to not put people in stereotypes. That's the first thing. However, it is a conditioning and it's consistent, so it's very difficult to stop putting people in boxes and stereotyping. Sure, I was pointed out only recently that sure, right from the day we go into in an educational environment, from either at home or at play school, what's the first thing you're learning? This is red. This is blue. This is a triangle. All the triangle pieces need to go in a triangle. All the circle pieces need to go in a circle. So we've got all these toys that help us understand shapes and numbers and all of this so that we can categorize. There are 2 pens, so the 2 pens go here, and now there are 3 pens, so the 3 pens go here, and these 3 pens are blue pens and the other 2 are red pens. So we learned how to categorize, and there are freaking mathematical disciplines and disciplines in physics that are focused on categorizing. Anyone studying accounts? When we're doing accounts, you're categorizing expenses. We're constantly categorizing. These are my summer clothes. These are my winter clothes. We put things in boxes because it's easy for our mind. But these are objects. But when we start putting ourselves in a box, it reduces our ability to reach our potential. If we say, I am a woman, and so I am going to do X. Or I am short, so I don't think I can do Y. Like unnecessarily gaslighting ourselves and putting ourselves in a box and trying to uphold some strange stereotype is not good for us. So similarly, by extension, putting other people in a box is not good for others. It's not good for overall humankind. Yeah? Anybody want to be like, no, Joe, actually, yada, yada. Anybody want to question that? Bring it on. Bring it on. No, seriously. Anybody? Maybe I won't be able to answer. I'll be gobsmacked and Paula can answer. Anybody? It's okay. Remember, honest. And if you're confused, I don't get it, Joe. I don't think I put people in stereotypes because this is legitimate. Again, if we're talking about being honest, the attitude towards travelers, right? There are so many conversations, there are reports and reports after reports about mental health issues amongst the travel community, the suicide rates amongst the traveler community, and still what happens? We find ourselves in conversations where people are being extraordinarily racist and xenophobic towards travelers, thus adding to their trauma, whether they're in the room or not in the room. And then, fucking hell, and then somebody down in the village got someone stealing something, and that person happened to be a traveler. So what's happened now? That one person suddenly is now upholding a stereotype for an entire community. No, that's not fair, is it? Is that fair? I don't think that's fair. Anybody else think that's fair or unfair? And this is the thing. I am traveler, but I'm not a drug addict. I am traveler, but I'm not a thief. I am a traveler, but I'm not Y, Z. Do you know what I mean? So this is important stuff. So what happens is over time, when one stereotype consistently is pushed as the truth, it starts to represent all of the community. And that's very dangerous. And that's what's happened. That is fundamentally the problem with the world as we live it right now. Okay? All of these kind of strange policies that club everybody together as the other. It's not good for us. Okay? So that's the reason why we started here. I am X, but I'm not Y. Okay? Okay, Paula, next slide, please. Okay, now this leads into this beautiful image. Okay, like think about your own self. Yeah, you look a certain way, you speak a certain way, you dress up a certain way, or certain ways. You might speak in different ways. I speak in 3 different ways, depending on who's on the other side, who's opposite to me. I have different ways of speaking. I have different ways of dressing up. I've got different types of behavior that is maybe age appropriate or not age appropriate, depending on the cultural setting I'm in as well. Right? So there are different parts to my identity that you can see, but there are parts that you can't see, but maybe Nicola has noticed that I have massive brain fog and I'm like, oh, what am I saying? And the brain fog is because of the fact that, I'm growing older and there's so much research being done about our hormones for women and how that is a fucking pain in the ass. But that's not to say that younger women don't experience it, right? I might also be dealing with the chronic pain that I can't tell you about, either because I don't want to whinge about it or I don't want you to fuss over me about it, but the pain is there. It's there. What are the other things that you can't see about me? What do you think? Anyone? Or what are the things that you can see? Anyone? Invisible, visible disability. Yeah. So people with chronic pain, people who use wheelchairs for different types of reasons, right? There is that. People who are who are living with autism, people like myself living with brain fog. I'm telling you, it is very irritating and frustrating, this brain fog. It's ridiculous. And not being, and if I don't sleep, how that affects my mood is another thing. Yes, my mental health. Like I could be dealing with 300 crises between the different families that I have, my own family of origin and then my family here. But you're not going to know about it unless we're very, very close. You know? Yeah, economic pressure. That's a massive one. Thank you, Alma. And cultural pressures as well. These are things that you cannot see that form my identity, right? And trauma. What about like my past trauma? Like when I actually walk around MTU and I think about the time when I was in college, there are good memories and then there are very traumatic memories as well. And then I have to work very actively work hard to keep those other memories at bay and focus on the ones that bring up really fun memories for myself, But this is something I'm not going to always talk about it. But today our manifesto is courage and honesty. So here I am talking about it, right? So if you yourself you have your identity iceberg, everybody else also has an identity iceberg, right? Yes, we've got to remember that. And in a world where we are governed by strange structures, very strange structures, and call them whatever, call them the C word being capitalism, call it whatever, right? We are being more and more encouraged to be individualistic, very individualistic. I don't know how many of you spend too much, like obscene amount of time on social media. I used to, and then you get all like, even though I was born in the 80s, I grew up in the 90s, and I can somehow still kind of be like, okay, I don't need that. I've got all these other things going on for me. But then there is that there is another generation that is growing up different to me, and they find the social media things like, oh, it's very difficult. But then I also go through those demonic phases, and I think like everybody's living really good and it's so amazing, but what about me? And everybody's shouting from the rooftop their opinions, and everybody's finding different ways to stand out from each other. And it's almost extraordinarily exaggerated because they need to feed into the algorithm. Only then they're going to be seen, and only then they're going to get their money. It's so the more and more you give yourself without even pausing to think, the more and more you focus on individualism, we forget about community. And because we forget about community, we forget to look at others having the identity iceberg, because sometimes we even forget that about ourselves, right? So you see how different powers are at play to keep those biases in place, to keep that status quo in place. Okay, I'm going to pause now and ask, is there any questions? Is anybody confused? Is anybody like, I know this, I want to add something to it? Alice is smiling. Alice obviously has something to say. Go on, Alice. Go on, please.
No, I don't have anything to add. It's just when you said, I know that, like the way you said it was just funny.
But maybe, do you know this? I don't know. Is there anybody else who's like, yeah, I do actually, but I forget? Anyone?
I think we like subconsciously know it, but don't always live it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's more to do with the way, with the structures in which we live in. It's it's forcing us to detach ourselves more from ourselves and detach ourselves from everything else. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, it's important to protect ourselves, like Sarah with her amazing boundaries, because it's all like fun for Sarah and peaceful. Let's do that. Okay, I won't say that again, Sarah. Sorry. But you know, sometimes to have our boundaries in place for to show ourselves compassion, we might need to kind of, you know, not think about it so much about others, and that's okay. But we can't make it a habit. You know, we have to remember that I am a human being. I have all these different things about myself, and I have to somehow show up every day. And like me, there must be everyone must be having their thing, and everybody's doing their best to show up. So let me stop putting myself in a box. Let me stop putting others in a box, and let's just dismantle stereotypes for myself and for others as well. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is something for you to take silent time and journal about. Okay, what cultural indicators can be seen or assumed at a glance? So when this is again in keeping in mind your on placement, you're in Mozambique or you're in the Philippines, when you are looking at the culture you are exposed to, what can you see and what is assumed right at a glance? And now someone like Alma and Mara are like, well, I already know so much about them. It's okay. It's okay. That means what you are able to see and not see, you have a more informed insight into it. Put it down and maybe pause to think, is just something that I'm missing still or whatever, you know? So take this as an opportunity to do that. Okay. Paula has a Google Doc for this, and she's going to share the link in the chat so that while you journal there in your book, your paper, your diary, you can also add to the Google Doc so that those who couldn't make it today can have a read of that. And you too, you can then add to it as well if inspiration strikes you. Okay. And then
it's also on the Padlet, just so you know, I have it on the screen here under SDG 10. So that document is in the Padlet as well, just in case if you lose the link from this Zoom call, you can go in there and it's all there.
okay. Sorry, Paula, will you go back to the Canva? Cool, thank you. And then there's another question there as well. What cultural indicators cannot be seen, but still play an important role in the individual's identity? The individual being new people you're going to meet, you know? Maybe pick a young person you're going to meet. That doesn't mean you're going to, put them all into one, but just think of any young person that you might meet, or the partner themselves when you meet their team, picture them based on what you've learned about them through training days. And again, Alma and Moira have advantage because they can actually put faces to this. Okay. And so does Nicola. Okay. Now, anybody want to share something from what they've written? Who has been very quiet? Abby and Blonde. Who wants to say something about what reflection came to them? Anyone? No? Nobody feel like sharing anything that came to their mind? Anne Ray?
For the first one, I was gonna say Chinese or Asian people are smart, like intelligent. Yeah.
Yeah. And then anything else? What indicators cannot be seen?
I wasn't sure what to say.
Does anybody know? Anybody have anything? Go on, Alma.
Maybe like religion, like it's not always seen at first, like you don't necessarily have to wear a cross or have a dot on your forehead or, a very significant thing, but like religion or like the way you pay respect to elders or, that's not necessarily something you see.
Yeah. Now, funnily enough, the dot on my head, even though I was raised Catholic, I like to wear the dot on my head. So the dot on the head is not necessarily only people who practice Hinduism wear it. Now, having said that, even if they're Indian and if they're practicing Islam, they're definitely not wearing a dot on their head. But I am not a practicing Catholic, but I was raised Catholic and I love wearing the dot on the head. I wouldn't wear the marker, which is the string of red through the center of my forehead. I wouldn't do that because that is definitely done by women who are married and who are practicing Hinduism. And that is, I don't put that because it's a definite marker that you're married. And that is like, patriarchal as shit. So I'm not doing that. Okay. So Nicholas said, in Bajau, you see smiles welcoming poverty and unseen. And unseen is the hunger, the access to food, trauma in relation to recent fire and living situation and homes. Yeah. Thank you, Nicola. You see? So that's like that, Sarah. Social status cannot necessarily be seen, but this can indicate how an individual is perceived by society and their interaction with the wider community. Boom! Mic drop. Thank you. Yes. Definitely. That's really good. Okay.
When we were in the Baja on the first day when we were welcomed for the opening ceremony, they were all dressed like in their best clothes, and you'd never know, like they were groomed really well and they looked really lovely, and you'd never know by their physical appearance
Yeah.
or how they live.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that happens. It happens in even here, doesn't it? It happens here too, right? Yeah, people with mobile phones but still living in extreme poverty. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, so this is a good place, y'all. They're doing very good. Awesome. Next slide, please. And I'm conscious of time as well. Yeah, let's play this video.
Babies are born bias-free. They can notice differences, but they don't mean anything. By age 3 or 4, toddlers instinctively categorize the people around them and start favoring the groups they belong to, family being number one. But biases haven't developed yet. As young children, we are generally happy to play with anyone, regardless of group. But as we grow, we are surrounded by messages teaching us which groups are in and which groups are out, feeding us stereotypes and biased thoughts. Books, TV, loved ones, religious and public institutions all send out messages like a smog we can't avoid breathing. It invades our conscious and unconscious. By early adolescence, when self-esteem is most fragile and the need to belong strongest, teens and preteens cling to their groups or cliques, not only valuing their group, but also actively putting down the other, the least valued group. The seeds of bias are growing. But there is hope. By understanding how bias starts, being aware of the messages we receive, and learning to consciously reject stereotypes and biased thoughts, we can lift the smog and learn to appreciate ourselves and others. Bias can be broken. Unlearning, Breaking Bias, Building Community is a CPTV partnership production with the National Conference for
Cool. Any thoughts? Now, any thoughts on that video? Anything you want to add to that video? Or to that spiel? No? No? All good? Okay. So the next, it's hopeful. Yes. Thank you, Nicola. Just by looking at me. Just by looking at me and my beautiful tattoos, people think I am selling weed. I mean, I wish I did, well, I don't. But I don't. I mean, I definitely wish I was selling it and it was legal. And all our pains, probably for some of us who have pains, it can, help, but it doesn't. But it's not legal. And also, it's not true. I have many tattoos and I do not sell weed. Just by looking at me, people think that I am, no, just by looking at me, people assume that I am not health conscious. By people, I mean mom. Okay. Anybody else want to throw something about them? Just like looking at me, building that I'm weak. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. Anyone else want to throw one out there? Just throw it out there. Just throw it. Anybody? Maura?
I'm kind of laughing because people always ask me like what diet I'm on or something because I'm always running, and they say, "Oh, geez, there's nothing on you. How do you?" And I'm eating a big plate of steaks and chips, so it's definitely not true.
Just by looking at me, people think you're not eating.
Yeah.
Oh, no. 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 Anybody else? Paula. Paula's thinking.
Like pull out the dumb blonde card. So
Yeah,
there's
do,
the,
do,
you know,
do.
there you go. Dumb blonde here with my blonde hair.
Does it actually happen to you, Paula? Do people actually think, do they
Not
mansplain you a lot?
so much. Not so much. I think it just pulls out a an excuse to make fun if they're, if they're trying to find something to make fun of.
That is not.
Usually in kind of a very Irishy way.
What is, are you calling all Irish people stupid and daft? Is that what's happening?
No, like like a friend, well, a lot of my friends, we try and slag each other
Yeah.
in an endearing way. Yeah.
So you always get picked on for being blonde and thereby dumb. Dumb as in
Yeah.
like not trying to be an ableist or this thing, but like you're daft, like you're obviously no good up here. Do they not know you're an engineer?
They have more fun. Yeah. Do we have more fun? So,
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Next slide, y'all. Next slide. Okay. Now, there's another one. I'm going to read it out for you, okay? Take a few moments to reflect on how you approach your contribution on your volunteer placement. Think about how you will speak to the people you meet while on placement. Also, think about how you will speak about them when you are back at home or back in college with friends and with your lecturers, the people who gave you money, your scholarship, your university, your colleagues, your relatives. How are you going to talk about the people you're going to meet? So there's two layers to this question, right? Now, you can journal about how either of your own unconscious biases, either gender bias or social bias or any other bias that I can't think of right now, how of these will affect or influence your choice of words. And then it's a lot to think about, okay? But it's there here for whenever you want to think about it. Are you able to counter it? If yes, how do you counter the balance? If not, have you asked for help with countering the unconscious bias?
And just for continuous reflection, those questions are also on the Google Doc that I shared in the chat, and it's on the Padlet as well, just continued.
It's obviously okay if you're feeling stuck, then you can just, allow yourself to ask the question here.
And you can feel free as well, like with the Google Doc, like you can always copy that and just fill it in your own,
Yeah.
have your own personal version. Or if you're just writing it out in your own journals, you don't need to, because that Google Doc is, it's a shared document that people can see.
Yeah.
You can always just like save as and save your own version of it.
And you can maybe share a summary of it, of what you thought in the open document for everybody else to gain from your thoughts as well. You can like summarize your own thoughts and put it in there.
just to break the silence, like I think a kind of a bias, like unconscious bias, is like, especially in the Philippines, and like Joe, you can correct me about India, but like a lot of people speak English, and we can automatically assume that just because they speak English, that they can understand English really well, and but it might just be broken English, or like it might sound like a confident English speaker, but I think I think it's good to be conscious of how fast you're speaking, and like, has the question that you've asked actually been heard properly, like, or understood. Um, I'm just thinking back as well, like there's a lot of times in the Philippines that I was talking, but I wasn't really conscious about like maybe some of the Irish kind of Irishisms of English that I was coming out with, that someone from the Philippines wouldn't understand, and they might not have questioned me on it, but maybe, so it's just sometimes that language thing can be, and if, yeah, it's just something to be conscious about that.
Yeah. There's there are two things you've pointed out there. One is about how the English is different, and it's the other way as well. They are speaking to you in English, and in Mozambique it'll be in Portuguese, so you have to really practice active listening, right? So that's going to get challenged. And if it's an English speaking community or an English speaking space, you've got to, instead of correcting someone, this is me just handing out answers now. Instead of correcting someone, pay attention to what they're saying. So recall and say, is this what you mean? And then say it back, right? And then Paula also said, she wasn't conscious of it while she was doing it, and no one actually even said anything to Paula. No one actually said anything. What is that, when you were talking to the members in the community, Paula?
Yeah, and like, even like Nicola said there, like some people would say yes to me,
Yeah.
and it's almost like being polite, and not wanting to question, and
Yeah.
so that's a really good, like, thing to do, is to kind of double check that everything's understood, whether you're saying it or hearing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what is at play? Does anybody have any guess of what is at play here? But no one is correcting or just saying yes, yes. And you don't know what's going on, but there is something at play here in that interaction. Shyness. I love how sweetly naive you are. Yeah,
Power dynamic?
power dynamic. Thank you, Sarah. The shyness comes from the power dynamic, Alma. Yeah. Yeah. Wanting to please. Yeah. To be the perfect global South citizen declared by colonialism, right? Yeah. So this power dynamic, power hierarchy is at play here. So this is something to remember. So much so that when I went to Zimbabwe, to Young Africa, when I was actually in second year in undergrad, no, first year undergrad, and I went to Zimbabwe. That was my first time actually going away to volunteer on my own somewhere, right? And I know Raj and Doreen, who run a Young Africa, who founded Young Africa, sorry. And they told me, you know what they said to me, Joe? You need to remember, just like in India, how the teacher is the goddess, the everything. They're not going to question you. They're not going to answer your questions even when you want to ask them questions. Because I was doing some English and science tutoring in the evening classes, and the medium of is English. And then I did this. I presumed they understood everything, but no one would raise their hand and ask their question. Forget, like me, I'm like, just ask questions. But this expectation that you should raise your hand and ask a question, nobody did that either, because they just took everything for granted that whatever I'm saying is the truth. And so there is that power hierarchy. Because I am the teacher, I know what is correct, and I am the student in the class. I don't know nothing. I'm not going to question her. right? And I'm not even white. I am Indian. I am brown. And by that stage, because of my tan, I had triple layer brownness. So I was almost like, you know, like a mixed color child in the classroom, you know. So it wasn't even to do with the power dynamics, wasn't to do with where I came from. It was to do because of the position of power that I held in that room, right? And when you're made aware of this, it really will change the dynamic of how you approach and use your power and privilege to dismantle it, in my case, but sometimes in other people's cases, they would uphold it. Like, I am the teacher, right? And you will see this not just, you might see this in your own life. In here, you see this, like you might have lecturers who have no time for your opinion, and then there'll be others who do have time for your opinion, will engage conversation in class because they're not interested in power dynamics, really. They're not. Yeah. So that is what was at play there. And this will happen consistently when you will be volunteering in the Global South. So it's very important to be aware of that. And it's important to be aware of that because technically, what are we trying to figure today? The language we use and the attitudes that we have towards the people we're going to meet in the Global South, right? So how are we going to change our language? How are we going to make sure that the power dynamics is there, it's equitable in the language that we use as well? I suppose for today, we're just going to focus on that. It matters that we dismantle those power hierarchies. And we can do that when we're aware of the biases that we have towards other people. Okay, sound good? Cool, noted. Yes, Alma. Now, yes, Menti again. Can you share thoughts about tackling your own unconscious bias while on volunteer placement? It's nearly 7:15, and I really want to get into the reflections. Okay, Menti, can you share thoughts about tackling your own unconscious bias while on volunteer placement? They don't have to be perfect grammatical sentences. Yeah, yeah. That's why you've got each other, right? That's why you have each other and each other and when someone is, remember when we call out someone, if we're the person calling someone out, try and do it in private and try and be very gentle and practice loving kindness. And then the person receiving the call, being called out, remember the manifesto. Okay? And then hug it out and it'll be fine. Okay? And then commit to doing better. We need to fix them. Yeah, no, we can't fix any of it. Okay? We cannot fix the problems we see, but we can definitely keep consistently fixing our unconscious biases. Let people show, tell you who they are, try to tackle your own assumptions, reflect on your own biases. Yeah. Let people show, tell you who they are. You know that thing about language when you're talking to people, and also remember, especially if it's an English speaking community, right? You're dealing with someone who's multilingual. So by the time they process and decode and respond in English, that takes time. That time taking doesn't automatically mean they're daft. They're just like, oh, what's going on? Right? So they're code switching, and that's okay. And someone in Mozambique is also doing the same. Because they might have limited English, but they've understood you because they can understand. But then to verbally say something, they're either shy because they might not say the right word. So they're taking their time. So practice listening and don't complete people's sentences. Try not to. Yeah? Hope I don't insult anyone. That's going to be hard, right? That is a valid kind of like situation, but I don't think you should ever stop yourselves from that, which is why your intent matters a lot. as a group amongst yourselves, and then also as a group engaging with your host, your host community, your people at your placement. So your intent matters a lot. So if you come from a place of authenticity, and if you come from a place of like dismantling power struggle, and instead of saying, oh, I know what's right, no, ask the person. Make it always a collaborative effort, so that way this feeling that you have that you're going to insult someone, it'll kind of reduce, and it'll make you hyper aware. And because you're hyper aware, it will enhance your engagement with people around you. And my hope is that it doesn't prevent you from fully engaging and immersing, right? So put yourself out there. If you make a mistake, again, practice compassion and self-compassion and hug it out with your team leader. It'll be okay, and then do better. Be curious and open to learn, get to know the people on personal level, make it more real to you. Yeah. At the same time, nobody owes you their honesty. Nobody owes you an explanation, right? Remember that as well. You can't be like, oh, they're not telling me stuff. Well, who are you? You're gonna go in 2 days. They don't give a fuck. They're gonna have happy days for a few weeks and then you're gone. And like, so nobody owes you anything. So you in fact, you should be more honest with them, because you want to be able to engage. You're the one with the privilege. You're the one who's coming in here to gain something from the experience, to learn something from the experience. It's not all about, I can build this wall and isn't it amazing? Tap me on my shoulder. No, it's not about that. It's not about the damn wall. Okay? It's about how we speak to each other in while we're having our tea in the morning in the Philippines. Okay, there's really good ones there. Reflect on assumptions, knowing we are imperfect, precisely. Humble yourself and ask questions. You're there to serve, not to lead the parade. Thank you. Spend time. And then so you have to be able to take instructions from someone who doesn't look like you or sound like you, and that should be okay. All right? Okay. Do we have time? We have very few minutes left, but we will definitely do this reflections. Let's go back towards the slides. Thank you, darling. Oh, this is actually great for you all to do it on yourself. What this is are different markers. And you can like answer the markers and you'll know how nuanced you are as an individual, right? And therefore how nuanced everybody is, whoever we meet forever. So this is a very good power flower to have. It's a good resource. It's on the Padlet. Okay, next slide, please. Yes. So just go to the next slide. Okay, so there's 3 questions. How does my identity, my race, class, gender, or any other identifier position me in society? How do our own identities and positional power shape what we see and hear and how we frame challenges? Next one. Yeah. Transforming power structures within the team or organization catalyzes a sense of shared purpose, greater self-direction, and a general commitment to better work quality. When people share power, instead of having it wielded over or against them, they can be more human and authentic. They're always more capable of challenging inequities in their interactions. How can you, your group, transform power in the conversations between yourself and the members of the local communities you'll meet during your volunteer placement and also after your placement when you return home and have conversations about the people you meet while on placement? That's a very big prompt, but it needs that full explanation. This is a good example of how, when you will be writing your diaries, your blog entries, which I hope you frickin' do, I will be sending energies to the countries while y'all are away to send Paula and Nicola the diaries. So think about this. How are you presenting the people you meet when you write your blogs? Okay? Yeah. So I think because of time, we're going to have an open discussion about the very first point, the very first reflection about privilege, Paula. Next one, go back one more. As in, yeah. How does my identity, my race, class, gender, or any other identifier position me in society relative to privilege and oppression? The floor is open.
So the fact that we're majority are white is a big, you know, we're going to stand out basically, and they might think we're more privileged, just because of our color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then how does it position you in relation to the oppression that you're going to see? You know you're white,
Mm-hmm.
then what does that come with when you are in placement and you're looking at injustices and unfairness? How do you frame it? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know, but I think, yeah. Look, I love Nicola's insight. Your position is often one of outside influence, sometimes perceived authority, and definitely mobility. You probably have resources, options, and the ability to leave. That alone gives you power, whether you asked for it or not. Yeah. Anyone else? No worries, Claire. Yeah. So how does your identity position you in society relative to privilege and oppression?
I think the fact that we're there for such a short amount of time, you're only in that area and that position such a short time, as Nicola said, you're going back to your life of, for a lot of us, privilege or education or a stable job or somewhere where you have shelter and everything. So even that puts you in such a position of power and privilege.
Yeah.
Just feeding off of Tess's, sometimes the fact that they know that you're coming and then you're leaving. Actually they're like, oh, we're gonna try our best for the next 4 weeks. And then they leave and it kind of feels like all your efforts are not being followed through when you come home. And sometimes that can be really demotivating, and it can make you feel really sad. But it's hard to put things into context then when you come home and you're like, I actually am not there. So I can't see, what goes on behind in that part of the world. So sometimes they might be putting in the extra mile and then that doesn't translate when you leave.
Yeah. And someone like me who's not white, who's brown, and then goes to volunteer in Mozambique or in Zambia or in India, within India as well, something about privilege and being called out. My friends, when I went to Zimbabwe, my friends in Bombay, in class, couldn't understand why I would choose to go to Zimbabwe to volunteer instead of staying home and volunteering with Mother Teresa while she was still alive. Why? Why? Why would you go all the way there when we got enough stuff here to do? As if, first of all, I didn't need to explain because I didn't have the words then. Secondly, that is racist as heck to say that about the people across the ocean. Somehow they don't deserve your capacity of able to help because there's enough of us here. And my answer to them as a rebellious 19-year-old one was sure, aren't there enough of us helping enough people here? I don't know about there. I feel like I need to go there because they have far less lack of resources and everything. I didn't say it then, but I know now. I'm going to use the privilege that I have and I go there. And then in India, my class matters, my caste also matters. And it's an unseen thing, but it's very much seen. My name can give away so much. So will it give me access to volunteer in these rather high, in these spaces where it's occupied by people from higher class and higher caste? It won't. Let's face it, it won't. Why will I not then find a place that's more open and inclusive and go there? And while I am there, while I have volunteered in different parts, then there's other dynamics in play as well. You know, like how am I going to how can I have a meaningful conversation with someone if we are both struggling with the power hierarchy? Because we're all like, oh, the white man is amazing. Who cares about what I say, being brown? You know, so there's that kind of weird power dynamic going on as well. And sometimes the partner is more inclined to listen. In India also, you know, like I am team leader, but they're more inclined to listen to John because John was team leader. So between the white person and the brown person and a brown woman, they're going to choose the white person. So how then do I claim space as team leader as a woman, you know? And so then you have to be aware that I still have privilege. Even in that situation, I still have privilege. I have the privilege of language. I have the privilege of education. I have the privilege of being an able-bodied person working with a partner who works with people with disabilities. I have all these privileges, and how am I going to use this and not worry too much about the gender bias going on in this situation? You know, by being really aware and then picking my battles and then maybe putting in the debrief report that happens, you know? So we all find our way, no matter how grave in a situation, whether we're here at home or whether we're on placement in the global south, we're always going to have some privilege as compared to the other person. And we have to be aware of that, and we have to use it in a way to enhance our global citizenship, which takes the form of the way we speak about people we work with, or how we photograph them, how we speak about them to other people. All of this matters. Is that okay? Anybody want to add anything? Yeah. 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 Okay. Now, if that manifesto was to be pulled up again, is there any more words you want to add to that manifesto? You can put it in the chat for now, I guess, if it's tedious to put it on Menti. Anybody want to add more
Are
words?
people able to add to it still?
They are. Okay. Okay. Openness. Thank you, Sarah.
You just have to click back into the link.
Yeah. Cool. Increased awareness. Yeah. Awareness of self, awareness of what's going on around you. You can't be away in la la land. Like, I know it's hot and you have to drink so much water to stay hydrated. I don't care. Suck it up and be aware of everything that's going on around you. Because that's why you're working so hard to be there, to be aware of everything that's going on around you. Put the sunscreen on, drink the coconut water, and step out and be aware. Okay? And take your anti-malarials even if you are taking them. Don't forget those. Okay. Anything else? Openness, increased awareness. Anybody else? Compassion. Was compassion added now? Or was added before, I think.
I added that one before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still valid.
Yeah. Yep. Valid. The sunshine is still valid. Yeah. Anybody else? Abby, you've been very quiet the whole time. You've been soaking in. So has Blondet. Yeah. Integrity. Thank you, Anne Marie. Yes. Having integrity in every interaction that we will engage in when we are there, and having integrity when we come back and speak about our experience as well. Yeah. Oh, you're not able to add. Okay. Contextualize, calm, patience. Yes. Yeah. That's the other thing about, that last reflection, which was so long and wordy. I wanted to say that remember to include the nuances and the complexities of everything you're experiencing. Remember that identity iceberg. Mention what you're seeing and mention what cannot be seen as well. Try to avoid that little devil that's like, oh, it's too long a sentence, no one's going to read. No, write it. Write it. Normalize writing long as captions. Do it. It's important for the narrative to reduce inequalities. Okay? It's important. Okay? Okay. We're going to close now. We're going to close. Paula's going to play a meditation for us to close. And I think this meditation is a meditation. It was short. It's short as well.